music in school then?
I didn't. I did music when I moved. So I went to school in the same school as you in the Holy Family in Newbridge, and I didn't
Newbridge?
as a, yeah, I didn't get music as a subject when I was into the third year there, and then when I moved to school in Baltinglass in County Wicklow, and I did music there in kind of fifth and sixth year. I remember finding it really hard because
Yeah.
I had literally no music theory whatsoever. So it was kind of like starting from scratch, with the theory side of it. But it was great to actually get to do the subject.
You're just breaking up a little bit, but did you say that you didn't do music in the Holy Family, was it? But when you went to Wicklow, you did it there, and that what happened?
Sorry that it. Yeah, that's what happened. It was just in the Holy Family I wasn't doing it, and then when I moved school to Wicklow, I was.
Cool. Sorry, Sarah, your internet is going in and out, so we'll just see how the chat goes for the next few minutes. I'm not catching everything you're saying.
Okay.
Um, you must be. Are you near Newbridge? Is that where your family home is?
Yeah, so I kind of grew up in Newbridge. I would have lived there since I was really young until I was about 13, and then I moved to Baltinglass, a place called Stratford-on-Slaney, a little village, when I was about 13. Um, but yeah, I loved Newbridge, so I loved Kildare at the time. There was so much music in the town at
I
the
was
time.
going to say just the internet up that end of the country is terrible.
Yeah.
My parents still don't have internet in their house. Like
Oh my
I don't know
God,
how I got through my leaving cert without internet. But anyway,
that's mad. Oh my
but
God.
I know. So listen, your kind of main thing, I suppose, well, from an outside perspective, is songwriting. Like I would kind of know you as a singer-songwriter, and I think then I was kind of more curious when I found out you were from Kildare. Because you don't always get to know. Well, I suppose when I was in school, there was like open mics and different gigs and stuff on around that you could go and perform at. But I don't know if there's much of that going on anymore, especially for like kids in secondary school. It's just man, they used to have like I don't know if you ever went to any of the battles of the bands in the art centre.
Oh, I actually didn't. No, I would love to have went though. That sounds really cool.
You might have just been like just after all that stopped because I remember like they used to hold gigs there for like young bands and it was so cool like and it just was like the coolest place to be like when you're that age into music and
Yeah.
everything and then they stopped doing it and there was nowhere really to go so I think that's kind of a struggle for young people even now is having the talent and like having their lessons and everything but not having somewhere to perform unless they're like part of a stage school or something and they're doing like an end of term gig in a venue or whatever.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Because I haven't been back to Newbridge properly. Like I'd be back kind of visiting family and stuff like that. Because my family since I've moved to different parts of the country and stuff. But yeah, I definitely found when I was a kid, what kind of drew me musically was the community games. So I was in there was like St. Bridget's and St. Conleth's that would be kind of in the I suppose would compete against each other in the community games, and I was in St. Bridget's, so I used to kind of like it was an amazing place for kind of young kids at the time from when I was really young, and there was like singing, dancing, drama, trad groups, choirs. There was everything. So every night of the week, I was gone to something that I was doing, and it was great. Like it was really kind of I guess very formative for me as a child as well because I was just surrounded by music in the town, and then when I kind of got to I suppose my teenage years that was kind of when everything sort of moved to Wicklow. So I probably missed the Battle of the Bands aspect of it, which I would have loved to have been
Yeah,
part of. But when I was in Newbridge myself, when I was younger, it was kind of, I suppose it was like musical theatre and stage schools and like
yeah,
trad stuff like that, which I really loved at the time too. But in the background, I was always writing songs at home. So like I always had my guitar, and I remember I just always wrote everything down. I always used to write down however I was feeling. It was just something that I always found as a great kind of source of release. So I always just wrote down how I
mm,
was feeling. And then I remember one day when I was about 7, realizing that I could combine the things that I love, singing and guitar, with writing as well. So I was like, oh wow, that's how I can write songs. So
yeah, yeah,
the first song I wrote was about like the fish in the sea or something like really. I was so
yeah,
young,
yeah.
but it was yeah. I just remember realizing that was something that I could do, and it really it just brought me a lot of joy, I suppose. Yeah, just made me really happy. And I was kind of doing that always in the background then. And then I would have done a lot of musical theatre and sometimes opera and stuff like that too. But
Yeah.
kind of that sort of folk singer songwriter thing going on as well. So it was great to have both and to experience it all was definitely shaped the way that I sing and write and everything today.
100%. I actually had a similar background. Like,
Cool.
when I was in primary school, I used to make up songs, and I had this little like, do you remember the recorders with like the plastic microphone, and you had those
Yeah,
tapes, and you could press
I
record
did.
and
Yeah.
record. I had one of those, and I used to sing like songs about my teachers in school and stuff like that. But like, it was just for fun. I didn't think of writing it down or anything at that age. And then when I kind of had an aha moment, I suppose, the same as you. When I went to secondary school and I started studying music, and I was like, hold on a minute. Oh yeah, I had started writing poems. That's what it was. I had a book of poems that I'd written, and I was like,
Wow.
hold on a second. I could like make these poems into songs. And then I stopped writing poems and started making songs and got
Yeah.
into the musical theatre, the school shows, and joined stage school as well. I was in Pamela Keely's stage school. Which stage school were you in?
Oh, I remember Family Keely. Yeah, I think I was in that when I was really young, and then I moved to what was it called? Stage Academy, I think. It
Was
was
that Vicky Barry?
it was Breda Malone and
Oh,
Paul.
yeah, the Maloons.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So I loved it, but that's gas. We have a very similar background for sure.
yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, and the only, I think probably the difference between us would be, I didn't really play an instrument when I was in school. I always played a bit of keyboard, but I never really took it seriously until the last few years, really, to be honest. I always just played a little bit when I helped me write my songs, like just
Yeah.
basic chord progressions and things like that. Like, I was never really good at it or anything. But it did definitely helped me kind of form songs enough that when I started a band, I was able to go, here, I have this song, here's the chord progression, and here's the melody. So did
Yeah.
you play guitar from a young age, like in school?
Yeah, so I would have started about around the same age. So when I was 7, I went to guitar lessons, and I remember at the beginning, like a lot of people have, like my fingers were so sore, and I was like, oh, it's so painful. But I just remember I loved I kind of a couple of different singers always inspired me. But I remember at the time I was mad into Avril Lavigne and Pink and those kind of singers, and like I was really inspired by the fact that they really had like really strong vocals, but a very much a guitar sound within their music. And then I was also into like Luca Bloom and Christine Moore and Damien Dempsey and that kind of thing. So I knew that I was kind of, I guess that's what my motivation was, that I was so inspired by artists like that and songs like that that I kept going. And I just loved I guess it was really empowering as well, the feeling of like when you actually get something and when you feel comfortable with the chord and things like that. And I started then what kind of helped my guitar playing then as well was the community games. Again, it was just kind of getting into different chat groups and stuff like that, so I could up my guitar playing and get used to playing
Yeah.
in groups. And then that really benefited then when I was a teenager, I guess, with bands and things like that. Like what you said, that you could bring chords and you understood where you were coming in and what bar and things like that. So it was great. It was really helpful for that aspect of it. And
Yeah.
definitely with songwriting as well, I think like from being able to come up with a chord progression and then match vocals with that, and then to be able to bring that to a band or a group or a choir, whatever you want, it definitely was a huge advantage, I think, having an instrument.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you play, but do you play a bit of keyboard or piano as well, or?
A tiny bit. I can just play chords, but I wouldn't be a great keyboard player. But I think
You've stuck with the guitar mainly?
yeah,
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 because I just found that, like, when I started my band, it was kind of a rock band, and
ooh,
I just found sometimes it was really, like, I'd have an idea in my head about how I wanted the music to sound, but, like, at the time I didn't have the knowledge to go in depth about I didn't know how to create what I had in my head. I didn't know what to
yeah,
tell the guitarist to play or the bass player to play.
yeah,
I used to like maybe give examples of songs or like give a vibe or an energy, or like
yeah.
I'd be like dancing around the room trying to describe the rhythm or something like that. Like, and they'd be looking at me like, sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. But I just found that sometimes with the piano or the keyboard, sometimes that was a bit tricky because sometimes they couldn't really hear it as a rock song when I played it on the piano. So I
Okay,
think the guitar, like straight away, and you hear the guitar, you can hear it as a rock song. Like, if you're in a rock band, like, so I know for you it's folk music, but I think the instrument that you play can dictate the musical direction you go in with songwriting as well.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true, actually. Yeah, because it's like it's trying to, yeah, it can be hard to communicate it sometimes, and definitely as a singer, like I found that has been a challenge over the years. That like if I'm the singer in the band trying to communicate like the kind of sound that you want for, like you said, what you want the guitar player to play or the drummer, what rhythm you want them to do, that was definitely challenging. But I think, like you said, if you have an instrument like that, it helps. And I did find like when I was a teenager, I was in kind of an indie rock band kind of. It was like, so it was
Yeah.
kind of like a band with a group of lads. And um so yeah, that was really fun as well. But it was great to be able to play a little bit of guitar with them. But I'd say they would have loved to have keys too. Like definitely, I'd say having keys in the band too is brilliant because it's another texture again.
I think keys can be so cool in a rock band, but like it doesn't suit everything. But I know Steven, my boyfriend, he always thinks like there's no place for keyboard in a rock band, and I'm always arguing with him over it and like naming out all the bands that there can be keyboard in. But tell me like a little bit about, I suppose, your songwriting journey. So you went from school, did you go straight into college? And I know you were in CSM as well, then in Cork. It's where I am now.
Yeah, so I was about, when I finished school, I just turned 18, I think. So that June, I turned 18, and then I had my heart set on Dublin because it was kind of where everyone in Wicklow and Kildare would have went was to Dublin for college. And
Yeah.
so I had my heart set on that, and then a few different things happened that I got an offer for Cork, and I didn't expect it because I had the Cork School of Music, the degree that we both are doing, the BA in popular music. So I put it down, and I remember going up for the audition and loved the building. I was like, this place is amazing. And I just in my head I was like, God, I'd never get this. Like, this is way out of my league. And I never thought that it would be something. I guess it kind of felt unreachable. And the other aspect of it was that I just didn't know Cork at all. I'd only been there once before, so it was somewhere
Yeah.
I knew nothing about. It was kind of like in other words, because I guess my world was kind of the Midlands or Dublin. Other than that, it was like I didn't really know much about the South. And but yeah, I got off with the round two and looked into the course and everything, and I was like, oh, this looks amazing. And it kind of all happened really quickly. Within the 1 week, I ended up getting a really cheap rent on an apartment down there, and I moved down totally on my own. I was only just turned 18, like, and I thought at the time that
Yeah.
I had the whole world sus, but I guess looking back on it, I was quite young, like, and so yeah, I moved down and didn't know anyone. Moved into an apartment on my own, and I lived on my own for the first month because the people who I was living with hadn't started yet or anything. But I remember just being so blown away by Cork. It's such a colourful and creative and musical city, and I really felt like I was in the right place. And then the degree itself was absolutely amazing. Like as you know as well, like it's really special, and it gives you an opportunity to go down a couple of different avenues, like, so depending on the modules you want to go for and things like that. And I definitely found songwriting, I just really really loved that module. It was because it's like something I'm so passionate about. And the other great thing about the college was the people who you meet and the kind of, I guess, the networking that you do, the musicians who you connect with and end up playing with. And from coming from a background of doing a lot of folk songs and musical theatre, I found when I moved to Cork, then I was exposed to this world of like soul and blues and rock, and I was like, oh cool, I can kind of experiment with that. And it was definitely taking me out of my comfort zone, but it was huge in, like, I guess, in how much I experimented as a singer. And because I think as singers we can actually do anything. It just depends on the route you want to take or the style you want to
Yeah.
try. We're capable of anything, so it was great to kind of to have the opportunity to try loads of different genres like that. It was brilliant. I loved it.
I feel like listening to your music, it really sounds like an eclectic selection of things have influenced you.
Oh, thanks so much.
Like, I don't know, I get a real Kate Bush vibe off your voice when I hear you singing.
Oh,
I don't know if you've listened to much Kate Bush. Like, who would be like your vocal people you look up to vocally, I guess,
thanks
or
so
who
much.
has inspired you vocally?
Definitely Joni Mitchell. I would say she's kind of she'd be a big inspiration. And then I love singers like Mick Flannery. I love the way he sings in a really raw and authentic way, and it's completely from the heart. Um, then I love singers like Melody Gardot as well. She's kind of a blues singer from, I think she's French Canadian, and Erykah Badu as well. And then I love singers like, yeah, Erykah Badu. I remember you singing it, Erykah Badu as well. You sing it so
She's
beautifully.
so good. She's so good.
She's brilliant, and she's another singer that's from the heart. Like, you know, I think with singing, like when if someone sings something and it really really moves me, that's usually what kind of grabs me in straight away. And Erykah Badu definitely has that as well.
What I love about her voice is she uses a lot of different voice qualities. Like she
Yeah,
sings it, she uses all different sounds, and I just love that. I love texture in a vocal.
yeah, that's exactly what she is. That's such a good point. Texture is exactly it, because she's not afraid to like do a really strong belt and like loads of growl, and then she also can go into the kind of ethereal, almost like more head voice sound, and then she's like great with twang as well. She has that absolutely nailed.
Like she literally can do everything. Like, and I think like I have to say I never listened. Well, when I was maybe a teenager, I did listen to pop music, but I didn't listen to pop music at all. I didn't even know who was popular in the charts until I started teaching a few years ago. And I was working in a music school in Portarlington, and like I had a lot of teenagers. And they were coming into me every week with all these different new pop songs and people I've never heard of. And I really feel like the pop world has upped the game over the last few years.
Yeah.
And what I'm loving is the variety of vocalists as well, because I feel like in the past, probably what was uninspiring to me, and maybe you as well, was that a lot of pop singers just had one voice quality. They just sang in one. They didn't have a variety. My dog is like vomiting out in the hall. I'm so sorry if you can hear that.
I can't hear it at all.
He's doing like, you know, like when they have a fur ball in their throat.
Is he okay? Oh.
I'm so sorry if anyone can hear that. It's like I think Stephen's looking after him. Anyway, it's so embarrassing. Jesus, you can't take him on. But I guess like to describe to like anyone listening who kind of sings or whatever, like what I mean by that and what we're talking about with voice qualities is like if you look at a singer like Adele, I would say she sings in mainly one voice quality most of the time. Like she has this amazing, powerful voice and range, but she doesn't there's no texture in there.
No, it's
I
very
have
much
to agree with you. Yeah, it's all kind of the one. Whereas Billie Eilish, I know she's been talked about so much over the last year, but what I'm loving about her is she's like one of the first singers in a while to really use lots of different voice qualities. I think that's
yeah,
really cool for people.
definitely. I think that I totally agree. And I think what's cool about Billie Eilish as well is like she's not afraid to be subtle. Like she could go a whole song like singing very softly and very much in her head voice, and she's not afraid to like she doesn't feel like she needs to always get to like a big belty note. It's all very subtle and understated, and it's really authentic. Her style and her way of singing as well. It seems very
And
kind of real.
and her like herself and it's Phineas, isn't it? Phineas,
Yeah,
her brother. Their songwriting is just cool as well. Like, and again,
yeah,
it's just loads of variety in there. And who
yeah.
would you say have inspired you, like, as a songwriter?
As a songwriter, yeah, probably definitely McFlannery again, and hugely as well Damien Dempsey. I really think that
Oh, yeah.
he's not afraid to say the things everyone else is afraid to say. Like he's very honest, and I love that in
Yeah.
his songwriting. Definitely Joni Mitchell's songwriting too, because she's so much imagery and she's really colourful in the way that she writes. So I love the way she writes too. And then there's singers like of course, like I know that a lot of people are a fan of Bob Dylan's songwriting, and like what I love about Bob Dylan as well is like he would write quite political, but he never said that that's what he was doing, and that's kind of something that definitely resonates with me too. And I think because I remember seeing an interview of him, and someone said to him like, "Oh, why don't you go to this protest, or why don't you support this cause and things like that?" And he always just said like, "I just write songs." Like he never said like he never labeled himself as anything really. So
Yeah.
yeah, definitely love his. And I do love singers like Billie Eilish too, because it's that thing as well of not being afraid to be dark. It doesn't have to be a
Yeah.
love song, and it doesn't have to be about like your boyfriend, and it can be too. Like I definitely have
Yeah.
love songs like that. But yeah, I think any songwriter that's quite unafraid to push the boundaries of the norm, I think is really cool.
And what would you say to anyone who's like a songwriter at any stage, who might learn from you today, or even a younger songwriter, or someone who's just starting out? Like how do you decide what direction to go in? Like, do you write about world events? Do you have to just write about world events? Do you write about your feelings? Do you write about abstract things? How does that work for you?
Yeah, so it's kind of yeah, that's a really good question because it's very, I guess what the way it happened for me was I guess I felt like it just kind of happened organically without me realizing what direction it was going in. So I've always like I said, I always kind of used to write down how I was feeling. So often that was where a lot of my songs came from. I'd write about like maybe struggles I had with anxiety, or the different things within my life, different situations, or um and then I would have kind of wrote from that direction of kind of coming through it or maybe being within it, and I found it very healing then for a way of expressing what was going on. And then I've often wrote situations that might have been going on, like say there was a situation about a man who I met in Scotland who was falsely imprisoned for something that he didn't do, and I so that really inspired me to write about him. And then I have a lot of songs at the moment just because I'm living by the sea at the moment in Clare, and so I have a load of songs, and after looking at my book I've got 6 songs about the sea, which is probably probably too many about the sea. But yeah, I'm kind of inspired by that at the moment. But I definitely think what I would say to anyone is to just follow what feels right for you, and don't be afraid to write about something if it feels real for you, and if it's a cause that you really really care about, like if there's someone you really really care about in your life, or a situation that you really really care about, don't be afraid to just go for it and just write what feels right for you, because there's actually no wrong way of doing it. And I think with your style and with your genre, that kind of happens naturally. And what I found helped me to find the style and genre was definitely from experimenting. And even now I find it hard to put myself under one bracket, because it kind of starts with folk, but then I would sing a lot of soul and a lot of blues and sometimes
Blues, yeah.
R&B and stuff as well. So like, you don't have to be one genre as well. That's the freedom of songwriting too. You don't need to be one thing, which is cool.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Like, just write what's authentic.
Yeah,
Be authentic to yourself, and if it's true to you, and if it's of interest to you, then it doesn't matter what it is.
yeah, exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
and how would you go? How do you like? Do you have like? I think we got a question in earlier. I'm going to read it because the last chat I did, I completely forgot to ask the questions that people sent in. So I'm really sorry to people for that. It was my first one, and I was kind of pacing myself, and I kind of ran out of time and stuff. But let me just check here now. Oh yeah. So how did you start out songwriting, and is it always a similar process? And that's from Trish.
From Trish. Cool. Yeah, so it sometimes it varies. What I found at the moment, where a lot of songs come from, is the voice memos on my phone. So I'd come up with like a melody or maybe a lyric idea, and I would sing it into the voice memos on my phone, and then um from there, then I'd usually kind of bring it home and try and get chords to match it on guitar. And sometimes with keys as well, just maybe a few chords. But I like I said, I wouldn't be a great keys player at all, but just to have a few chords to match around it. But yeah, that's usually what's been happening more at the moment. And I do a thing as well called the morning pages. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Yeah, I know that from The Artist's Way.
Yeah, did you read
Yeah.
that?
I started reading it, but I never finished it.
Oh, so it's great even to just start it, like, isn't it? It's amazing, and it can be intense as well, but yeah, it's so brilliant. I kind of found it was great. But the morning pages help as well with inspiration, because sometimes it's like
Yeah.
you're just writing non-stop, without kind of thinking about what you're writing about, and sometimes you look back over it and you see like there could be something like a line, even just one line in it that really fits for what you're looking for. So yeah.
Yeah. That I definitely know what you mean by like just journaling, and
Yeah.
like you're writing what it's like a stream of thought, isn't that what the way they call it? It's a stream
Yeah.
of thought. You're just writing down your whatever's happening in your day, or whatever's happening in your mind, or it could be the same sentence over and over again if that's what you're feeling that day, whatever it is. But yeah, within that you could just find one little thing that when you read back on it, you go, that's actually like giving me like really strong imagery or a really strong kind of meaning, and that could be the start of a song. So you could
Yeah,
even get something from that kind of journaling. Or did
yeah.
you ever hear of the Stacks method?
No, I haven't. What's that?
Now, I've kind of edited it slightly since I first was taught it, so I can't remember the exact way it's done normally, but I've kind of edited it like this. So what you do is, it's really good if you have like a writer's block, or if you're just kind of struggling to put into words your idea. You might have an idea of a topic for a song, but you're struggling to put it into words. So like you might open a book that you're reading or whatever, and you just scan the book, and you whatever words or short phrases that jump out at you, you write them down on a piece of paper. And because those words and phrases usually jump out of you because you've got something in your mind that links to them. And
Yeah,
then when you can write as much as you want. Like sometimes I write maybe like 10 words, and then sometimes it's like a whole A4 page of like phrases and words, like depending on how I'm feeling. And I
yeah,
look back at it and I go, actually, all the words I picked out really fit into this story that I want to tell, or this whatever it is. And then I start formulating sentences into sentences for a song from there. Like,
oh,
I don't
that
know if do
sounds.
you use any tricks like that for songwriting?
I'd love to try that though. That sounds amazing. I'll definitely try that later for sure. Deadly.
Let me know what it comes out like.
Mm. Yeah, I
Sorry,
think
I just
kind of. No, you're grand. Are you okay? Is your throat okay?
I'm grand, yeah.
Yeah.
I always have a bit of a cough because of my asthma.
Oh yeah, and especially with hay fever and stuff at the moment. Yeah.
It's so bad. I literally I'm like anyone who's like around me a lot knows that like I literally live with a toilet roll of tissue beside me. Like it's
Oh, you
yeah,
poor
so the joys.
thing.
But when you were in college in CSM, 'cause I know you're doing a master's now, but when you were doing the degree, I know what year is it third year that the songwriting elective comes in?
I think so. Yeah, I think it was the first semester of third year. Yeah, and so you kind of get a couple of options. There was like songwriting. There was specialized pop performance. So that's like where you put on your own gig. It's a really cool module. And then there was like community music, music therapy. There was music teaching and stuff like that as well. And I really loved I didn't do the specialized pop module, but I did another thing called performance development where you just pick a genre and you get to totally delve into that. So I chose jazz for that module, and I just kind of delved into jazz for a year. That was really fun to do.
Yeah,
Got to sing with the jazz big band in the college a few times, which was like an amazing feeling to sing with a whole kind of big band orchestra sound. It was
yeah,
the feeling from it was fairly amazing. I'd never done anything like that before, so it was
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
But and then the community music I really loved too, because it was working with groups and helping to share, I guess, my passion for songwriting and singing with groups in different environments. And I worked with some teenagers and stuff like that on a placement and things like that. So yeah, it was great. Like there's so much within that building, especially.
Oh, is that your phone? Is there? Oh, no, it's this phone I'm using.
Oh,
I have my phone in my hand and I'm using Stephen's phone, and I didn't know where the beep was coming from. And I have my laptop beside me. Jesus, oh God, I'm technology overload. But in the songwriting course, like what was the approach to teaching songwriting in college? Because I know I did a songwriting diploma, which is just a year-long kind of part-time course in BIM, and like the stack method would have been one of the tricks that they taught us, and they would have taught us a little bit about popular chord progressions and things like that as well. I didn't go too in depth, but it definitely gave a good foundation knowledge of kind of how to use music theory to embellish your songs and that kind of thing. So like what was the approach to teaching songwriting? Was there anything that you took, what was your biggest takeaway from studying songwriting in college?
yeah, that course sounds amazing as well. What you did, but it was very very similar. I'd say the process and the things that were taught. We did a lot about like rhyming schemes, so just seeing what works and what words kind of fit. And we would kind of so we'd have our hour lecture with Chris Ahern, who's a phenomenal lecturer, absolutely incredible man, and we'd have our hour lecture with him, and then we'd often be given. You'd have like a week to write a song. So the hour after that would be a workshop where people would perform their songs for Chris, and he'd help to give different pointers on the song or give different advice on chords as well. So like in the similar to like what you said about what chords work in a song, like maybe one week we'd be given task of writing a blues song. So we'd use a lot of sevens and a lot of like sometimes a lot of minor chords, and with a lot more of that kind of blues sound. And we'd research a little bit on where blues came from. So like Robert Johnson back in the, I think it was like 1920s, and like a lot of singers like that. And then when it kind of progressed further, then we looked into where kind of songwriting started. So things like the Brill Buildings, where Carole King and Burt Bacharach, it sounded like they did the best job ever. It was a whole building of songwriters, and they used to just write songs all day, like so amazing. And we learned about kind of the history of songwriting, and then we learned about like how it progressed on from that, then like with other songwriters, and like the different techniques that they'd use even in pop music nowadays. Like, do you remember Jason Derulo always had the same Jason Derulo, and
his signature.
Yeah, exactly. And then there was a thing called the Millennial Whoop, I think it was called, and it was like this kind of like almost alarm sound that was at the beginning of loads of songs in the 2000s, and it was like a niche thing. And then we would learn about how to find a good hook and things like that. But yeah, definitely the thing that really stood out, like my take from it, was I'd say the workshop classes, just being able to bring in a song and share it with your peers, and to kind of they would help you with ideas. And if you were stuck on a lyric as a group, you try and find it together, and then getting pointers from Chris as well on a different angle to take the song. You could have a song written like from maybe a personal standpoint, and then maybe he would give you the advice to write from maybe the third person standpoint, or things like that. So the smallest change made a massive difference. But I definitely found what my take was the group environment for sure. I really loved that.
I think, with a lot of stuff in music, it's like what you learn from the people around you, like including your lecturers and the students who are in your class, and people you end up working with outside of college as well. Like, you can learn so much from how other people operate within what you're doing.
That's so true. Yeah, you can be so inspired by each other, and then that's how kind of co-writing and writing songs together and collaborations can happen then, which is great. Like, that part of it is.
Tell us about that. That I was actually going to ask that about, like, do you prefer collaborating, or do you prefer writing on your own, or which one do you do most, or kind of how what way has it worked for you?
What I do most would probably be, I mostly write on my own. I kind of always have, but I haven't collaborated as much as I'd like to. I absolutely love writing songs with people and collaborating. And at the moment, I've been doing a lot of that over lockdown, which has been good. Like, just having, I guess, with having so much time and with the break from kind of touring and not as much teaching and stuff, there's a few friends where we kind of had song ideas, and we would send different recordings back and forth and lyrics, and to collaborate together. And so that's been really, really fun. I absolutely love collaborating. And I have another friend then who's a DJ, and we're working on some songs together as well. And he's a kind of a deep house DJ, and we're
That's why you did the rap with. I can't remember the name of the song now. You have to forgive me, but the one that you released last year with the rap, or was it early in this year?
Yeah, that was last year. Yeah, that was my friend Steve Wall. He's releasing a single actually on the 25th of August. He's really good. If anyone wants to hear the song, but we write together a little bit too, and with that song Rise Up, it was great to have him in it. Yeah, it was great, because I had like a verse and a chorus, but I just felt like the next verse was for him, so it was great to collaborate in that way.
I really loved that like song, and it was cool hearing you singing with a rapper. It was just a bit different, like it was like new to what I'd heard you doing before as well. So I think that was really cool.
Thanks.
Because I know in my early days of songwriting, like I was really protective over the songs I'd written, and I felt kind of just weird and uncomfortable, and like afraid of showing anyone my songs or allowing them in on it type thing. But when I found a lineup in my band that we just clicked, because you don't click with everyone you end up writing with, but we just clicked, and I was like, this is amazing, I love it. Like, we had so many ideas bouncing off each other, there was more energy in the room, and like songs, it was like a surprise every time you started a song. You never knew what direction it was going to go in. Sometimes it would just like end up being a song, just magical. Like,
yeah, it is, it's magical. And that's like, it's the, what's the word I'm looking for, it's almost like an explosion of creativity, you know, when you're jamming like that as well. And like you said, you don't know what direction
sparks are flying.
Yeah, it's amazing. And it's like conversation is happening as well with you and the rest of the band, like an unspoken conversation, which is, it can be magical. That's the word for it, definitely.
I love that you just said that. I was actually just chatting to Stephen last night about music as a language,
Yeah.
meaning as a kind of more of a form of communication, and like, you know, like I would find it difficult to maybe like talk deeply about my feelings to people sometimes, but
Yeah.
if I was writing a song, it just flows, and if it doesn't feel as uncomfortable, that sometimes I think people find it easier to express themselves through the music than they would just having a conversation with somebody. It's
Yeah,
really fascinating the effect it can have
that's so
in that
true.
sense.
Yeah, and it is fascinating because it's a form of expression that's like boundless as well, I suppose. And like you said, it's like you don't need to say anything, you don't need to talk about anything, but if you can sing it, like that's such a powerful way of like experiencing release as well, I suppose, because you're like, you know, when you sing like a note that like really kind of totally resonates with what you've with the lyric that you've written. It's, I don't know if you found that too. It's such an amazing feeling because you just feel like you really unleashed it, I suppose, and it's a way of connecting with people too, because I think when people hear a lyric or a certain melody that really resonates with how they're doing or how they're feeling, like it really makes them feel like they're not alone with it, I suppose, because I often felt that's what music was for me as well. If I was feeling a certain way and then I heard a song about it, I was like, oh, I'm not the only one who thinks that way or feels that way. And yeah, it's a huge relief then when you notice that. It's cool.
I'm going to put you on the spot here and can feel totally fine to say no, but I thought it could be cool. I didn't honestly plan this. It just came to me in the moment of feeling mischievous. But have you got your guitar handy?
I do.
Okay, I'll just explain what I was going to suggest doing, right?
Okay.
So I know you teach singing and a bit of songwriting as well, and like so you know the value in improvisation.
Yeah.
Do you know where I'm going with this now? So what I thought could be cool is if you just want to play like a chord, three or four chords, whatever you want, over on repeat, and why don't we go back and forward with a melody between each other? So
Okay.
if you want to start off, and then I'll just la la and ooh ooh. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I always try to like teach my students that like not to be afraid to like make a mistake, and not
Yeah.
to be afraid like to hit a bum note or like sing something weird, because you
Yeah.
put like, and even I find for even like your training of your voice, that like improvisation can really help you find voice qualities that you might have been too tense to like land yourself in if you
Yeah.
weren't kind of being free and improvising with it.
Yeah.
Do you
That's
want to try it for a minute? It doesn't have to go on for
yeah.
ages. But
Oh, yeah. Because you're so right though. That's how you find your kind of who you are as an artist as well, and your authentic voice from improvising. Like that's how it
yeah,
happens.
grab your guitar and we'll give it a shot. And
Okay.
I just say to anyone listening, if you play an instrument, it doesn't even matter if you play it well or not. Just pick three or four chords and play them on repeat and start booming and on over it. Like it can be anything as long as it sounds good to you. And if you hit a bum note, who cares? Like, you know. So me and Sarah are just going to demonstrate that now. So
So
whenever
what's
you
what would I
want.
say? Minor or major? What do you think?
I'm gonna. I would say minor.
Yeah, let's go for minor.
I always go with minor, but whatever you want.
Let's go with that. Okay. Um. Cool. Okay, there's the chord progression.
Okay. Do you want to go? Do you want to go first, and then we can do like answer and call, maybe something like that.
Okay, cool. And just oohs and ahs, see what happens.
Yeah. So if you do like a round of the chords, and then I'll come in and I'll sing something as well.
Cool. Okay, let's give it a go.
See, we're excited already.
I'm so excited. This is gonna be a hit.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I can't actually hear the chords too much when I sing, so it
That's
doesn't
okay.
matter. We'll just stay going. Yeah, we'll go back and forward for a minute. You
Okay,
stay going.
that sounded great though. Cool.
Deadly. Yeah. Oh. Oh. Oh.
Lovely.
I'm losing the chords a little bit, but
No, it sounds fast.
that's it. Yeah, we'll stop there. Like, it's a cool little demo, but like, I think I posted like a thing on my Instagram like a year ago or something, maybe even more. And like, I think it's about 7 minutes long, and I'm literally just singing oohs and ahs, singing my heart out, like, do you know what I mean, for that long. But like,
Do it though. That's how like some of the best songs come, I think, definitely, because it's like it's total free expression without any kind of you're not tied to anything. Like it's cool.
Trish said that was
That
class.
was
Trish is the acknowledge with me, so.
tone. I love your tone, Rebecca. Oh my gosh, it's beautiful. Like
Oh, thank you.
it's gorgeous.
I love your tone as well. Your voice is so class. Like it's so delicate, but it has so much resonance in it as well. I know that word's a weird word in the singing world, but like it has so much like kind of like texture in it.
Thanks so much. Jeez,
You know
I
what I
don't.
mean?
Yours is so like it's like chocolate. There's so much depth in it and so much soul. I love it.
Oh, thank you. That's exactly the description I would want to get for anyone. That was cool though. It was really nice. So guys, that's like me and Sarah don't know each other that well. Like we know each other a little while, and we just both love music, and we just had a little jam there, and we just didn't care, and it just was great crack. It was good fun,
Yeah,
and
it was.
yeah,
Do
it
that
creates
again.
a pep in your step for the day as well, you know. And lots of songs come out of kind of improvising melodies as well, you know.
Yeah, 100%, definitely. Like just from like definitely from like voice memos and stuff. I find I'd be like walking across the bridge in Cork. You know, when you're going from the School of Music over the bridge into the town. I used to find going over that bridge, melodies used to always come to me. I don't know if it's from all the music being around that area because I know the School of
Wow.
Music is on the other side, but maybe it's the energy of the music that's there. I don't know, but I remember on that bridge I used to often be humming melodies, and then like when I get back to where I was living, I could kind of figure out if I wanted to make it a song or not. And sometimes I'd be like, what was I thinking about there? What was that? And then other times it can be, wow, I really love that. I want to make that song. So yeah, definitely. That's how it happens. So you're right. Improvisation is definitely key, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And like I know for like lots of my students, they're terrified of improvisation. They're just like afraid to like go for it. And they get really embarrassed if they if they don't know where to take it. But it actually is really good for your confidence as well. And it leads me on to my next question. I'm getting better at this. And this one is from Eve, and she says, "How do you gain performance confidence?"
Yeah, so that's something, it's a great question because it's definitely something that us as performers struggle with. I found what helped me a huge amount. So I guess from performing from a young age in stage schools and things like that, I was always performing and dancing in groups and things like that. And then when I was a teenager, I was performing in bands, and I used to do some solo singing, but usually there would be people on stage with me. And I found then in the last kind of, I suppose I was kind of always doing bits and bobs where I was singing on my own, but I didn't develop nerves properly until kind of my teens. I remember getting really, really nervous, and I guess it's part of being a teenager that I guess I felt quite self-conscious at times. And you know, when you're a teenager, there's so much going on between like hormones and growing up and school and trying to figure yourself out. And I knew that music was the one thing that felt right, and I loved music, and maybe that was part of where the nerves came from too. But yeah, I found then when I moved to Cork and for college and stuff and started doing some bigger gigs, the nerves were getting worse. And I remember reaching a point there about 2 years ago where I was like, no, I can't, this can't happen anymore. I need to figure a way around this. So,
Yeah.
something that's always been a huge part of my life. My parents have always been into meditation and a lot of kind of practices around Buddhism and things like that. They're not kind of strictly Buddhist or anything, but they would have been into meditation,
Yeah.
and they introduced me to that. And I found, I just, when I kind of, I guess when the nerves before going on got really full on, I tried to get into meditation. So it's definitely a huge part of my life now and has been for the last couple of years. And yoga as well has been hugely helpful with nerves. But like I'd say, like what I'd recommend for a way of like starting off with it for Eve if she was into that is like um definitely just even like taking time before you go on stage or before you sing anywhere to like find a room where you're totally on your own, and whether that's like sometimes it can just be like the bathroom or a cubicle, wherever you want to go, and just taking 10 deep breaths really, really slowly and feeling your feet on the ground. That really, really helped me. And it's, I know it seems like something so small, but I felt when I was nervous, like your heart beat fast and you'd be thinking about loads of stuff that you wouldn't usually, I guess your head would be racing, being like, what if I do this wrong? Or what if I do that wrong? And things like that. So by taking those 10 deep breaths really, really slowly, it definitely helped me to bring me back into my body, I suppose. And just, it definitely just really calms you for sure. And then after that, kind of, you can, if meditation is something that it can be, meditation can be anything. Like it can be going outside and just taking a few deep breaths, looking at the sky or whatever. It doesn't have to be strictly
Yeah.
sitting on a mountain with your legs
I mean,
crossed.
it's mindful kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Any kind of mindfulness, whatever that is, and just taking that time for yourself to be on your own, to just like catch your breath and be with yourself. That was definitely beneficial. And I guess just from like talking to my different vocal coaches about it over the years, definitely helped too. And recording myself was good for like recording my practices. So if I set
Yeah.
up my own camera and like videoed myself while I was practicing, then I could look back on it and be like, okay, I looked kind of nervous there. Why did I look nervous there? And I guess dissect where the nerves were coming
Yeah.
from.
Yeah.
And the other thing that really helped as well was just practice. I guess when I know the song inside out, I don't feel as nervous as I would if I was a bit unsure. Do you know, that kind of way? So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It cuts out one reason to be nervous, like, and
Yeah,
sometimes you don't know why you're nervous. You just are. Like, I know for
exactly.
me, I remember going to a voice workshop thing in a voice work studio actually, and it was like a performance workshop with KJ Rose. Do you know
Oh,
KJ? Did you go to that one? KJ Rose workshop.
I actually missed that, I think, but I remember hearing about it. I heard it was phenomenal.
Like she came in so fierce and full on, and she just, oh my God, like we weren't ready for her. Like she was just so full on, but she got everyone, well, not everyone, but like some people to get up and sing a song and kind of had to explain the song, and then she gave you a few different things to do, um like talk the words and things like that, and like say it in different ways and stuff. And I had a full on anxiety attack. Oh my God, I don't know. And like I wouldn't normally be a nervous performer. Like I would have suffered with anxiety in social situations over the couple of years,
Yeah,
but for some reason I just had it just hit me, and I was actually really glad. It was a really humbling experience for me, because I obviously know what it's like to feel nervous. So when my students came into me to tell me they were feeling nervous about a performance or an audition or whatever, like I had some understanding of that, but I had kind of forgotten how much it can take you over
yeah,
until this happened to me that day. So it kind of reminded me of what it feels like to be in that situation. Like I was mortified. I was sitting in front of a room of all other singing teachers, like, and I just felt like, oh my God, I wanted the ground to swallow me up. It was terrible, but like, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. That's true. So
exactly. Yeah, and it's so true when you experience something like that. That's so, it can be so difficult and really hard to go through. But it's from an experience like that that makes you kind of try to. It kind of makes you realize you're like, okay, what can I do to nurture myself and look after myself? You know, because it can be scary. Like you're right, when it takes you over, and it can definitely be a feeling that stops you in your tracks.
so I'm looking at the time, right? We've like 10 minutes left. I don't want to run out of time, so I'm gonna like speed through a couple of things, right?
Okay.
So let me see. Oh yeah, here. Right. So you did college. You started a band from college or through college, maybe, or after college?
Yeah, through college. Yeah.
Yeah, so I know you perform as a solo artist. You're just you and your guitar, and you also have a band set up with the same songs, but like probably just slightly different arrangements with a band.
Yeah.
And you've like played in venues all over Ireland, and you've supported some really famous acts like Mick Flannery. So could you tell us maybe a little bit like about that, and what was that experience like performing for like a big act like that? Because that's like, oh my God, it's amazing.
Thanks so much. It was just, yeah, it was an honor, I suppose, to have that opportunity to do those kind of gigs, like, and to, yeah, it's just for artists that inspire me so much, to be able to share the stage with them was just amazing. Like, it really was. And I guess the support acts, I kind of started doing them kind of through college as well. I did a few in a band that I was in when I was in secondary school. And oh, I just see Ruben saying hi Ruben. But yeah, I kind of got into doing it a little bit then. And the first ever support gig that I did was for John Spillane in Dublin, in a place called Booterstown up in Dublin. And
Yeah.
he was such an amazing person to support, because he's so magical and he's so kind. And so, like, a lot of, in Ireland especially, I've toured a little bit in Germany and in Switzerland, which was amazing. But I've definitely found in Ireland that artists are so willing to help each other and work with each other. And there's so much goodwill out there. Like, people just really want to collaborate and work together and help you if you're a younger artist. So yeah, it was great to have the opportunity to do that, for sure.
And did those experiences performing for those kind of level acts, did that have help you book tours abroad? Did that have some kind of part in like kind of your resume, like of things you did to get you booked in other places abroad?
Yeah, I guess it definitely would have helped, for sure. And like, what I found with gigging in Germany and in Switzerland, um, like, the I guess from hearing, like, in those countries, they really really love Irish music, which is really really cool. And they, like, the minute that they would kind of hear a bit of music, or kind of when I sent recordings of the kind of songs that I'm doing and stuff like that, their response was like, people were so kind, like. And I was really, like, I was just so happy that the response was good. But it was definitely tough at the beginning, because it's similar to gigging in Ireland. Like, you're emailing venues and you're hoping that they'll get back to you, and then you're hoping that you can play there. So it was basically that process, but in Germany and in Switzerland. So there was the language barrier, and there was the fact that they don't know who you
Mhm.
are. You're just
Yeah.
from Ireland. So it was great to be in touch with venues that were so kind like that and so open. And it was from that then that I got a booker in Germany, which was really really helpful. And like, she's been so kind. And especially with everything with COVID, like, she's rearranged a lot of stuff for a lot of artists in Ireland.
Yeah.
Particular booker works with a lot of Irish artists. Um, so yeah, it's been great to have those opportunities, for sure.
And obviously, as well, just for people listening, Sarah has released a number of songs and albums. Sorry, I'm actually getting a bit blocked up here as I'm talking to you, so I apologise. But your first album was Breathe. That was the first full album, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, that was my first album.
And what was it? What was it like recording your first album?
Yeah, it was such a really special time. It was amazing. It was something I wanted to do for forever, really. So yeah, I ran a funded campaign for it, and I ran that a few months before it. And then I recorded the album in, it was like a really 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 cold January. I think it was the January of, was it 2018 or 2019, and it was freezing. And I remember we were going into the studio, and I recorded in Monique Studios, which was like this lovely, cozy, safe haven. It's just a magical place. And like, done by Christian Best, who just has the most beautiful studio. And there'd always be incense lighting and candles lighting. And it was just such a lovely time, I remember, for the whole month of January. Because usually in January, like, I'm sure you find it as well, there's barely ever any gigs and not a huge amount going on. So it was a good
Yeah,
time.
everyone's broke after Christmas, so
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it was great to just delve into just being really creative. And working with Christian was brilliant. And he was really, as a producer, he was great for, like, really honouring what each artist would like as well, and really honouring what the song means and the message behind the song. And then the musicians that I was recording with as well, they definitely played a part in the arrangements, and came up with some amazing ideas. So yeah, it was just a really creative process, and it was just, and then to get it out there and to tour as well and playing in front of people who really wanted to hear it was an amazing feeling. It was, yeah, it was really, really special time for
Like,
sure.
it looks like from the outside that you're living the dream. Like, you know, you're supporting these kind of well-known Irish artists. You're doing tours abroad. You've got an album out. You also just released The Wait, which is one of your newest singles, isn't it? And you also released Human this year as well. I absolutely love both of them, by the way. They're unbelievable. Everyone should check them out. They're on all streaming platforms. But sorry?
I love your album. It's amazing as well. It's beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks a million. They're like so different at the two albums, but like, yeah,
But they're
it's all part of it. But so you obviously, do you earn money from your original gigs? Like, do you make money off it? Is that how you earn your living, or what else do you do to earn a living?
Yeah, so it's I kind of do a couple of different things. So definitely with original music, it can definitely be a struggle financially, 100%. And I would make a living from it for sure, with gigs. And I was doing a lot of, this year I did a lot of house concerts, which I loved doing. So it was just arriving to someone's sitting room and playing music in their house. And that was, I guess that was how I kind of would make a living from those kind of gigs and from house concerts and sometimes from CD
We're
sales.
going to get cut off. Sorry, I thought I had a little bit more time than I actually did. We literally
Okay,
have 10 seconds left, so I'm going to cut you there. But Sarah, thanks so much for coming on. It was so lovely chatting to you.
thanks so
And
much for
we'll
having
might get you on again another time.
me.
I'm going to say goodbye because it's going to cut out.